You're finished, brother. This whole damn empire, it's mine now. Julian Hay's voice boomed across the yacht's deck, dripping with venom that had simmered for years. His face twisted like a bad storm, inches from Alexander Hay's 45, soaked through and clutching the slick metal railing. Alexander's legs buckled, his grip weakening by the second. Something was off. The whiskey Julian and Isabella had poured earlier, calling it a peace offering, burned like fire in his gut. His mouth went cotton dry, muscles turning to lead. You, you spiked it, Alexander slurred, jabbing a shaky finger at them. You gutless bastards. Julian stepped closer, a nasty grin splitting his face. Isabella stood back, arms crossed, her eyes cold as ice. She'd been Alexander's wife for a decade, but now she watched like this was just another business deal closing. You think I'd give you a clean exit? Nah, you stole it all. Dad's favoritism, the company, the life I deserved. I've been your shadow for too damn long, scraping by on your handouts. Julian's words spat out like bullets, his fists clenched white-knuckled. Alexander narrowed his eyes, fighting the haze clouding his brain. I gave you every shot, VP slot, fat salary. You blew it all on your shady real estate scams. Julian barked a laugh, hollow and mean. Handouts. That's all it was. Crumbs from your table. You ungrateful prick. Alexander lunged, but his swing missed wide, vision doubling. Julian rammed his shoulder into Alexander's chest, slamming him back against the rail. They tussled like wild dogs on the wet deck, fists flying, the yacht rocking under the gathering storm. Thunder rumbled low, rain starting to pelt the water around them. Isabella smirked from the sidelines, sipping her wine like it was a show. Finish it, Julian. We've waited long enough. Below, hidden in a small skiff tucked behind the fog-shrouded reeds along the bank, Aaliyah Thompson froze in horror. She'd followed them out here on a gut feeling, Julian showing up at the Hayes estate that afternoon, all fake smiles and brotherly vibes, inviting Alexander for a clear-the-air cruise. Bullshit. Aaliyah had cleaned for the family for 5 years now, seen the undercurrents. Julian's charm was always too slick, like oil on water. And Alexander? He'd quietly footed the bill for her daughter Nia's surgery 2 years back. No fanfare, no strings. Just get her better, he'd said, slipping her the check like it was nothing. She owed him, so she'd tailed them, quiet as a ghost, paddling just out of sight. Now she watched Julian grab a heavy chain from the deck, the kind used for anchoring. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Crack. The chain smacked Alexander's temple with a sickening thud. Blood mixed with rain, his body going limp. Julian heaved him over the edge, Isabella nodding approval. Good riddance. The splash hit like a gut punch. Aaliyah's breath caught, but she didn't freeze. No time for that. She ditched the skiff, diving into the churning river. The current yanked at her like angry hands, cold, stealing her breath. Rain blinded her, waves crashing over her head. She kicked hard, scanning the dark water. Alexander, she yelled, but the wind ate her words. A flash of his suit jacket bobbed ahead, half sunk. She swam like hell, arms slicing through the foam, lungs burning. Hold on, damn it! Another wave hit, slamming her against a jagged log. Pain exploded in her side, blood warm on her cheek. But she grit her teeth, dove under, and locked her arms around his chest. He was dead weight, soaked and heavy, the river pulling them both down. She surfaced gasping, kicking wildly. Not today, you hear me? Not like this. Her muscles screamed, but she hauled him toward the muddy shore, inch by brutal inch. Knees scraping gravel, elbows giving out, she collapsed beside him, both of them sprawled in the dirt behind her shotgun house. Rain ticked off the leaves, thunder fading. Aaliyah wiped blood from her brow, staring at the man who'd saved her kid without a second thought. You pulled Nia through, she whispered, chest heaving. Now it's my turn. Alexander coughed weakly, eyes fluttering open in the dim light. Recognition hit him like a slap. You, Aaliyah? She nodded, rain streaking her face. Yeah, boss, the one who makes your coffee just right. He tried to sit, wincing at the pain in his ribs. Why, Why follow? She glanced at the yacht's shadow drifting away. Something felt off. Julian's smile? Fake as hell. And you treated me like family. Alexander leaned back on the wet grass as the storm eased. He tried to kill me. She met his eyes. I know, and we're gonna make him pay. They sat there drenched and battered as the night settled into a heavy quiet. If Aaliyah's bravery moved you, subscribe for more stories and comment your city and the time you're watching from. You might connect with neighbors tuning in too. Alexander's eyes snapped open to a pounding skull and the smell of damp wood and cheap coffee. He lay on a lumpy couch in a cramped living room, rain still pattering against the tin roof outside. His ribs screamed with every breath, temple throbbing like a bad hangover on steroids. What the hell? He muttered, trying to sit up. The room spun. Faded curtains, a kid's drawing taped to the wall, a shotgun house vibe that screamed working-class grit. Then it hit. The yacht, Julian's sneer, Isabella's cold stare, the spiked drink turning his world fuzzy, and the river. God, the river was pulling him under like it wanted him gone. Aaliyah appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her face smeared with dried blood and worry lines deeper than usual. Easy there, Mr. Hayes. You took a hell of a beating. She moved quickly, propping him up with pillows that smelled like lavender detergent. Nia, her 10-year-old, peeked from the kitchen, eyes wide but curious, clutching a stuffed bear. Alexander blinked hard, piecing it together. You pulled me out? Risked your neck for me? Aaliyah shrugged, but her jaw tightened, hiding the shake in her hands. Couldn't just watch. You saved Nia back then. Paid those bills without batting an eye. Figured I owed you one. He winced, touching the gash on his head. Blood crusted over. Julian and Isabella. They did this, my own brother and wife, tossing me like yesterday's trash. Rage bubbled up, hot and raw, but mixed with a gut-wrenching betrayal that made his chest cave. Aaliyah nodded, pouring him water from a chipped mug. Yeah, I saw it all. Followed because Julian's act smelled fishy. Now you're here, alive but off the grid. We gotta play smart. No hospitals, no cops yet. They'd spin it against you. Across town in the gleaming Hayes Tower penthouse, Julian paced like a shark in chummed water. Tie loosened, phone glued to his ear. Isabella lounged on the leather couch, filing her nails, a smug curl on her lips. Yeah, press conference in an hour. Julian barked into the receiver. Make it sound tragic. Boating accident. Too much booze. Grief over Dad's old will. Paint him as unstable. He hung up, turning to Isabella with a wolfish grin. This is it, babe. With Alexander dead, the board's mind to sway. A few bribes, some threats. Bam, CEO titles locked. She stood, wrapping her arms around him, her kiss hungry. And the wedding? Speed it up. Once we're hitched, that prenup's toast, and the estate's ours clean. Julian chuckled, low and mean. Already on it. Tangled the lawyers in red tape. Funeral set for tomorrow. Closed casket, of course. Nobody's gonna turn up. He poured scotch, clinking glasses with her. To new beginnings. But his eyes darted to the window, a flicker of paranoia creeping in. What if someone saw? Nah, the river took care of that. Still, he texted Victor. Double-check the docks. No loose ends. Back in Aaliyah's shotgun house, Alexander gripped the mug, knuckles white. I need to call Elias. My lawyer, he's clean, been with the family forever. Aaliyah handed him a burner phone she'd grabbed from a drawer, the kind from corner stores that screamed off the books. Use this, no tracing. He dialed, the line ringing twice before a gruff voice picked up. Grant here. Alexander rasped. Elias, it's me. Alexander. Silence, then a sharp intake. Holy shit, Alex. They said you drowned. Alexander glanced at Aaliyah, her steady gaze grounding him. Julian tried. Drugged me, beat me senseless with Isabella's help, and dumped me in the river. Aaliyah pulled me out. My housekeeper, remember? We're holed up at her place. Elias cursed under his breath. That snake. Okay, stay put. I'll swing by quietly, no tails. We need a plan. Freeze assets, dig into board votes. Julian's probably already schmoozing them. Alexander nodded, even though Elias couldn't see. He's gunning for everything. And Isabella, God, how long were they plotting? Pain flashed. Not just physical, but the knife twist of trust shattered. Aaliyah touched his shoulder lightly. One step at a time. Eat something. You look like death warmed over. She dished up leftover jambalaya, spicy and comforting, Nia watching silently from the corner. Meanwhile, Julian stepped onto the podium outside Hayes Tower, cameras flashing like gunfire. He adjusted his tie, eyes misting on cue. I'm devastated to confirm my brother, Alexander Hayes, is presumed lost after a tragic boating mishap last night. His voice cracked perfectly, rehearsed in the mirror that morning. He'd been struggling, drinking too much after Dad's passing. We argued, but I never thought. He paused, swallowing hard for effect. Isabella stood beside him, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, playing the grieving widow to a T. The yacht drifted empty, open bottle, no signs of foul play, just a man's demons catching up. Reporters shouted questions, but Julian waved them off. We'll honor his legacy by keeping the company strong. Off stage, he whispered to Isabella, that ought to buy sympathy. Board's eating out of my hand. In the shotgun house, Alexander flipped on the small TV, catching the tail end of the presser. His face hardened, fists clenching. That lying son of a bitch, painting me as a drunk to steal it all. Aaliyah crossed her arms, anger mirroring his. And her, your wife, standing there like it's nothing. We gotta hit back quietly, build proof. Nia tugged her mom's sleeve. Mama, is Mr. Hayes okay? Aaliyah knelt, forcing a smile through the knot in her throat. Yeah, baby, we're fixing it. Alexander watched, a pang hitting him. Innocence caught in his mess. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. She shot him a look. You didn't. I jumped in. Now eat. Can't fight on an empty tank. Elias arrived an hour later, slipping in through the back door like a ghost, rain dripping from his trench coat. Gray-haired, sharp-eyed, he shook Alexander's hand firmly. You look like crap, but alive's a win. He spread papers on the coffee table. Board minutes, asset logs. Julian's moving fast. Emergency meeting tomorrow to push his takeover. He's dangling incentives. Stock bumps, corner offices. Alexander scanned the docs. Fury building. And the wedding? To my wife? Elias nodded grimly. Public records filing soon. Consolidates her claim on the estate. Aaliyah paced, listening. So we hide, gather dirt. Start with his real estate deals. Always sketchy. Elias eyed her approvingly. Smart. You're more than helpful around here. She smirked faintly. Damn right. As night fell, Julian and Isabella celebrated in the penthouse, popping champagne. To us, he toasted, pulling her close, Alexander's ghost won't haunt long. But across the city, in the dim shotgun house, Alexander, Aaliyah, and Elias huddled over plans. The burner phone buzzing with first leads. The fight was on, quiet, but brewing like the storm outside. Alexander hunched over the rickety kitchen table in Aaliyah's shotgun house, scribbling notes on a yellow legal pad Elias had brought. His bruises ached like hell, but the fire in his gut kept him sharp. Start with the old accountant, Luis Ramirez. He handled Dad's will, might have seen Julian's dirty tricks early. Elias nodded, sipping black coffee that could strip paint. Good call. I'll text him from a burner. Set a meet in a neutral spot, like that diner off the interstate. No paper trail. Aaliyah leaned against the counter, arms crossed, her side still tender from the river log. I'll hit up the estate staff. Maria in housekeeping? She hates Julian's guts, always griping about his creepy stares. Might spill on his late-night meetings. Nia played quietly in the corner with crayons, drawing stick figures under a rainbow, oblivious to the storm brewing. Aaliyah shot her a glance, heart twisting. Keeping this mess from spilling onto her kid was priority one. We moved quietly. Julian's got eyes everywhere. Alexander met her eyes, gratitude mixing with guilt. You're right, but we need dirt fast, before he locks down the board. Elias stood, folding the pad. I'll handle Luis. You two lay low here. Aaliyah, scout the staff tomorrow. Act like you're just checking in. She smirked thinly. Piece of cake. Been invisible to those folks for years. Across town, Julian slammed his office door in Hayes Tower, veins popping in his neck. That presser bought us time, But whispers are starting. Cops sniffing around the docks. Isabella scrolled through her phone, legs crossed on his desk. Relax. Victor's on it. He'll squash any loose lips. Julian dialed Victor Blackwood, the ex-mercenary's voice gravelly on speaker. Boss? Julian snarled. Hit the streets. Anyone who might have seen that night. Dock workers, fishermen. Lean on them. And that maid Aaliyah? Track her. She was too nosy lately. Victor chuckled darkly. On it. Threats first. Letters. Break-ins. Make 'em sweat. Julian hung up, pulling Isabella close. No screw-ups. This empire's ours. Next morning, Aaliyah slipped out at dawn, hoodie up, blending into the neighborhood bustle. She hopped a bus to the Hayes estate outskirts, heart pounding, but steps steady. Maria met her at the back gate, cigarette dangling. Girl, where have you been? Place is a circus since the accident. Aaliyah played it cool, leaning on the fence. Heard the news, shocked me. Julian acting weird before? Maria huffed smoke. Weird. That snake was in Alexander's office rifling papers days before. Saw him with Isabella. Too cozy, if you ask me. And Victor lurking, sketchy as hell. Aaliyah nodded, pocketing the nugget. Any proof? Emails, logs, Maria whispered. Check the security cams, backdoor access. I got a buddy in IT who owes me. Aaliyah squeezed her arm. Thanks. Stay safe. Back home, Alexander paced, burner in hand. Elias called. Luis is spooked but talking. Says Julian fudged transfer docs post-Dad's death. Shell companies in his name. Alexander's jaw clenched. Nail it down. We build the case piece by piece. But as he hung up, a chill hit. The mailbox creaked open outside. Aaliyah checked it, pulling a plain envelope. Inside, a photo of Nia at the park, red X over her face. Note scrawled, stay quiet or she pays. Aaliyah's stomach dropped, and her hands shook as she showed Alexander. Victor's work. They're onto us. He crushed the paper. Bastards, we ramp up. Get the community in. Word spread fast in the neighborhood. Mrs. Jenkins next door, who'd gotten rent help from Alexander's quiet donations years back, knocked with a casserole. Heard whispers. You in trouble? Aaliyah let her in, voice low. Yeah, bad folks after us. Mrs. Jenkins nodded firmly. We got your back. Earl across the street, ex-cop. He'll watch the block. Soon a loose network formed, neighbors rotating shifts, eyes on strange cars. Mr. Rodriguez down the way texted Aaliyah. Black SUV cruised by twice. We ran him off with yard work excuses. Alexander watched from the window, humbled. These folks, I never knew. Aaliyah smirked through her fear. You helped without asking. Now they're repaying. Victor struck that night. A rock shattered the side window, glass spraying the living room. Nia screamed from bed. Aaliyah bolted up, grabbing a baseball bat from the closet. Stay down! Alexander shielded Nia, heart racing. Outside, shadows darted. Victor and a goon slipping away into alleys. Elias rushed over, face grim. Break-in attempt. They want you rattled. Aaliyah swept glass, fury boiling. They came for my kid. Neighbors swarmed. Earl with a flashlight, Mrs. Jenkins with a broom. We saw him peel out. Called plates to a buddy downtown. The group huddled, patching the window with plywood. Alexander addressed them quietly. This is my fight, but thanks for stepping up. Earl clapped his shoulder. Nah, it's ours now. Can't let thugs run roughshod. The next day, Aaliyah hit another spot, the old warehouse Julian used for shady deals. She snuck in through a side fence, heart jackhammering, grabbing a discarded ledger page from a trash can. Names, dates, transfers that screamed fraud. But footsteps echoed. Victor. She ducked behind crates, breath held as he scanned, muttering into his phone. No sign yet, boss, but the maid's poking around. He left, but the close call lit a fire. Back home, she slapped the page down. Proof. Links to his real estate scams. Elias grinned. Gold. We'll cross-check with Luis. Alexander paced. Julian's escalating. We need more allies. Threats ramped up. A slashed tire on Elias's car. Anonymous calls hissing, back off. But the neighborhood tightened. Kids playing lookout. Elders sharing coffee and intel. One evening, Victor cornered Maria at the estate. Spill what you told the maid. She stonewalled, texting Aaliyah mid-threat. Neighbors mobilized. Fake commotion drew him away. Aaliyah exhaled in relief, hugging Nia tight. We're not alone. Alexander nodded, resolve hardening. This web's unraveling his way. Time to pull threads harder. As dusk fell, Victor reported to Julian. They're digging, but the hood's circling wagons. Julian smashed a glass. Crank it up. Hit where it hurts. In the shotgun house, the group plotted their next moves, the community's shield buying precious time. Aaliyah crouched in the alley behind Julian's secret pad, heart slamming like a jackhammer. Midnight humidity clung to her skin, the kind that made everything feel heavier. She'd scoped the place from Maria's tip, a dingy apartment above a dive bar, off the main drag, where Julian stashed his off-the-books crap. War room, Alexander called it, from old chats with his brother. No fancy security, just a rusty lock and Julian's ego thinking no one knew. Aaliyah picked the lock with tools from Earl next door. Ex-cop perks. Click. She slipped inside, flashlight beam cutting the dark like a knife. The stairs creaked under her sneakers, each step a risk. At the top, a keypad blinked. New edition, damn it. She texted Alexander quickly. Code. His reply buzzed. Try 1985. Dad's death year. Fingers steady despite the sweat, she punched it. Beep. Green light. Inside, the place reeked of stale scotch and secrets. Bare walls, a desk piled with papers, a safe cracked open like Julian got sloppy. She moved fast, rifling drawers. Junk mostly. Receipts, burner sims. Then jackpot, a USB drive tucked in a false bottom, labeled Plan A. She plugged it into her old laptop, the screen glowing faintly. Files popped. Spreadsheets of cooked books, emails to Isabella plotting the hit. Even Victor's invoices for cleanup. Her breath caught, proof solid as concrete. Footsteps thumped below. She froze, yanking the USB. Victor's voice growled outside. Someone's here. Shit. She killed the light and ducked behind the couch. The door burst open, Victor's bulk filling the frame, Scar twisting his sneer. Come out, Maid, I smell you. Aaliyah's pulse roared in her ears, but she bolted for the window, shoving it up. He lunged, grazing her arm. She dropped to the fire escape, feet slipping on wet metal, Victor pounding after. You're dead, he bellowed. She hit the alley running, zigzagging through trash cans, his boots thundering close. A shot cracked, silenced but real, whizzing past her ear. She dove behind a dumpster, breath ragged, dialing Elias blind. Victor's on me. Alley off Royal. Back at the shotgun house, Alexander paced like a caged tiger, Nia asleep in the next room. Elias burst in, face ashen. She's in deep. Alexander grabbed his coat. We go now. But neighbors were already mobilizing. Earl revved his truck outside, Mrs. Jenkins on the phone, rallying more. Community's got her, Elias said, but worry etched his brow. They piled in, tearing toward the alley. Meanwhile, Aaliyah sprinted blocks, lungs burning, Victor gaining. She cut through a park, dodging benches, his curses echoing. Julian wants you quiet, permanently. She tripped on a root, hitting pavement harder, her knee splitting open. Victor loomed, gun raised. End of the line. Tires screeched. Earl's truck barreled in, high beams blinding. Victor cursed, bolting into the shadows. Alexander jumped out, pulling Aaliyah up. You okay? She clutched the USB, gasping. Got it. But he almost... Elias took the drive, eyes wide. Let's bounce before he circles back. In the truck, Aaliyah leaned back, blood seeping through her jeans, adrenaline crashing. That was too close. Alexander squeezed her hand. You risked everything. She shot him a tired grin. For Naya. For you. Julian slammed his fist on the desk in Hayes Tower, Victor on speaker, breathing heavy. She slipped me, boss, but she was in your spot. Might have snagged something. Julian's face purpled. Idiot. Lock it down. Hit the board harder. Double the offers. And that kid of hers? Make it personal. Isabella sauntered in, cocktail in hand. Problems? He yanked her close. Nothing we can't crush. Speed the wedding? Tomorrow's filings seal it. She smirked. My hero. But Julian's eyes darted, paranoia gnawing. Elias plugged the USB into his laptop at the house, files spilling out like guts. Holy crap! Transfers to offshore accounts. Hit orders on you, Alexander. Even Isabella's cut is outlined. Alexander scanned, rage boiling. Links to his real estate flips, laundering through the company. Aaliyah bandaged her knee, wincing. We got him cold. Now what? Elias dialed Luis again. Need you to verify these dates. Match them to the will? Luis whispered back, voice shaky. Yeah, but Julian's goons circled my block. I'm in. Elias hung up, adding another witness. A former board swing vote, Harlan Royce, who'd wavered on Julian's bribes. I'll meet him at a quiet coffee shop, no tales. Julian ramped up the terror. That afternoon, a package hit Aaliyah's porch. No stamp. Inside, Nia's school photo, knife slash across it. Note, next time, it's real. Aaliyah's hands trembled, but she crushed them, storming inside. They're targeting my baby. Alexander pulled her into a hug, solid and fierce. Not on my watch. We move her. Mrs. Jenkins? The neighbor nodded, whisking Nia away with a backpack and lies about a sleepover. She'll be safe with me. Aaliyah swallowed hard, eyes stinging as Nia waved by. Mama's fixing things, sweetie. Elias met Harlan in a greasy spoon, booth in the back. Harlan fidgeted, glancing over his shoulder. Julian promised me a slice. Board seat, kickbacks. But this? Murder plot? Elias slid a USB copy. See for yourself. Flip to us. Block his vote. Harlan paled, nodding slowly. Alexander saved my ass once. Loaned me cash quietly. I owe him. Elias pocketed the agreement. Stay low. We're building. Victor struck again, slashed Elias's tires outside, note under wiper. Stop digging. Elias cursed, calling a tow. Back home, the group huddled. Aaliyah paced. They're closing in. Alexander stood tall. But we're ahead. USB's our ace. Elias analyzed more files. Confirms fraud, enough for DA. Julian, sensing heat, called a board huddle, dangling bigger bribes. Loyalty pays, he schmoozed over stakes. But cracks showed. One member dodged his calls. Aaliyah tucked the USB safe, fear for Nia fueling her fire. We end this. Alexander nodded. Together. As night deepened, Victor lurked in shadows, but the neighborhood's eyes burned bright, ready for the next hit. Flames licked the shotgun house's side window, the crackle cutting through the night like a bad omen. Aaliyah jolted awake, smoke stinging her nose, Nia's coughs echoing from the next room. Fire, she yelled, bolting upright, heart in her throat. The Molotov had shattered glass, gasoline pooling, and igniting fast. Victor's signature, no doubt. She grabbed Nia, scooping her up, blanket and all, the girl's eyes wide with terror. Mama, it's hot! Aaliyah choked back panic, kicking the door open to the hall. Stay low, baby. Crawl if you gotta. Alexander burst from his room, eyes wild, coughing hard. Out the back, now! But flames blocked the kitchen, heat warping the air like a furnace blast. Victor lurked in the shadows across the street, smirking as the fire took hold. That'll smoke 'em out, he muttered into his phone. Julian's voice crackled back. Make sure they fry. No witnesses. Victor nodded, gun tucked in his waistband, ready for cleanup. Inside, Aaliyah shielded Nia with her body, flames nipping at her heels. She shoved a wet towel under the door, buying seconds. Alexander! Window! He smashed the bedroom pane with a lamp, glass raining down. Jump! I'll catch Nia! Aaliyah lowered her daughter first, Nia's screams piercing the night. Alexander grabbed her, then reached for Aaliyah as embers singed her arm. She leaped, rolling on the grass, pain shooting up her elbow. Run! Neighbors! Earl was already there, hose in hand from his yard, spraying water like a madman. Get clear! I called 911. Mrs. Jenkins hauled Nia away, wrapping her in a coat. Over here, sweetie! The community swarmed. Mr. Rodriguez with a fire extinguisher, B blast the blaze, kids yelling alerts door to door. Sirens wailed in the distance, but Victor melted back, cursing under his breath. Too many eyes. He peeled out in his SUV, tires screeching. Elias screeched up minutes later, face pale under streetlights. Everyone okay? Aaliyah clutched her burned arm, tears mixing with soot. Barely. Victor's escalating. Wants us gone. Alexander pulled her close, voice rough. He almost got Nia. This ends now. They relocated fast to Mrs. Jenkins' basement, a makeshift bunker with cots and canned goods. Nia huddled under a blanket, thumb in mouth, eyes haunted. Bad man did this? Aaliyah knelt, stroking her hair, gut twisting like a knife. Yeah, but we're safe now. Mama's got you. Alexander paced the dim space, fury boiling. Julian's behind it, pushing for that board meeting tomorrow. We hit back harder. Elias spread maps on a card table, USB files glowing on his laptop. Harlan's in, says 2 more swings might flip. But we need fresh dirt. Victor's comms, maybe. Aaliyah winced, bandaging her arm with gauze from Jenkins' kit. I'll scout his usual haunts. Bar downtown, loose lips there. Julian slammed his phone down in the penthouse, city lights mocking him below. Victor botched it. Fire drew heat, not silence. Isabella poured wine, legs draped over the couch. Chill. Boards tomorrow. Bribes are locked. Wedding papers filed. I'm officially the widow cashing in. Julian yanked her up, kiss rough. We accelerate. Tell Victor to hit Elias next. Break the chain. She smirked. My ruthless man. But Julian's eyes flickered, doubt creeping like smoke. Aaliyah slipped out at dawn, hoodie low, blending into morning joggers. She hit Victor's dive bar hangout, nursing a soda at the counter. Bartender, an old contact from cleaning gigs, leaned in. Heard you're in deep. Victor was here last night, bragging about torching loose ends. Aaliyah's pulse spiked. Any proof? Phone? Notes? He slid her a napkin scribbled with a number. Overheard him call this. Julian's burner, maybe. She pocketed it, slipping cash. Thanks. Watch your back. Outside, she texted Elias. Got a lead. Trace this line. Back in the basement, Elias ran it through his contacts. Links to Victor's ops. Texts ordering the hit on you, Alexander. Proof stacked higher, but so did the risk. Victor struck again. Elias's office window smashed, files ransacked. He called frantically. They took decoys, but real stuff's safe. Moving to you. Alexander met him at the door, gun from Earl in hand. Neighborhood loan. They're desperate. Aaliyah paced, arm throbbing. Board's key. Julian nails that. Game's over. Elias nodded. Harlan's feeding intel. Julian's dangling millions. We counter. Leak snippets to swings. Show the fraud. They huddled, plotting calls from burners. Alexander dialed a waverer, voice steady. It's me, alive. Julian tried to off me. Proof incoming. The guy gasped. Holy shit. Count me in. Quiet. Community tightened. Jenkins cooked stew. Neighbors rotated guards. We're family here, Earl said, shotgun propped. Ain't letting thugs win. Nia drew pictures for them. Stick heroes fighting flames. Aaliyah watched, chest aching, her girl's innocence fueling the fight. Alexander pulled her aside. Your sacrifice, jumping in that river, now this. I see it clearly. Loyalty's worth more than any boardroom deal. She met his eyes, voice fierce. For Nia, for what's right. He nodded, resolve hardening. We push harder. End this before more fire. Julian prepped his pitch in the tower, slides glowing. Alexander's legacy, mine to carry. Victor texted, targets hold up. Next hit tonight? Julian grinned. Do it. But in the basement, the group geared up. Elias tracing more allies, Aaliyah scouting Victor's trail. Tension crackled like embers, storm brewing outside mirroring the one inside. Alexander stared at the USB. Tomorrow's the showdown. We make 'em pay. The boardroom in Hayes Tower hummed with tension, air thick as a summer storm about to break. Polished mahogany tables stretched long, 12 suits fidgeting in leather chairs, coffee steaming untouched. Julian Hayes stood at the head, tie knotted tight, projecting calm like a poker pro with a full house. Ladies and gents, thanks for coming on short notice, he said, voice smooth as silk. With Alexander's tragic passing, we gotta move fast to stabilize. I'm proposing I step up as CEO. Keep the ship steady, honor his vision. Murmurs rippled, some nods, others glances dodging his eyes. Isabella sat to his right, legs crossed, playing the supportive almost widow, her ring catching the fluorescent glare. Harlan Royce shifted in his seat, sweat beading on his brow despite the AC blast. He'd texted Elias that morning. They're buying it. Push now. Outside the glass doors, Elias and Aaliyah waited in the hall, hearts pounding. Elias clutched a small recorder, a USB backup in his pocket. Aaliyah smoothed her blazer, borrowed from Mrs. Jenkins, a size too big but armor nonetheless. You ready? Elias whispered. She nodded, jaw set. For Naya. Hell yeah. They burst in, doors swinging wide. Gasps echoed. Julian's face froze mid-sentence. What the? Security! Elias ignored him, striding to the table like he owned it. Before you vote, hear this. He slapped the recorder down, hitting play. Victor's gravelly voice filled the room. Boss wanted it clean. Spike the drink. Bash his skull. Dump him in the river. Isabella's in. Her cut's locked. Company's ours. The board went stone silent, eyes widening like deer in headlights. One woman dropped her pen, clattering loudly. Harlan leaned forward, feigning shock, but locking eyes with Elias. Signal received. Julian slammed the table. This is bullshit. Doctored audio. A smear job by disgruntled has-beens. His voice cracked, sweat glistening. Isabella paled, gripping her chair arms, white-knuckled. Aaliyah stepped up, voice steady despite the knot in her gut. I saw it. Julian and Isabella drugging him, beating him senseless, tossing him overboard like garbage. Pulled him out myself, half drowned. The board erupted in whispers. Lies, Julian roared, pointing at her. She's just the help, probably after a payout. Aaliyah's eyes blazed. Help? Yeah, the one you ignored for years. But I know betrayal when I see it. Elias slid printouts across the table. USB files, emails, transfers, hit orders. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. Offshore accounts in Julian's name. Isabella's signatures on the fakes. Julian lunged for the papers, but Harlan snatched one first. This is damning. Murmurs turned to outrage. Explain this, a board vet barked. Julian backpedaled, face flushing. Fabricated? She's extorting. Probably slept her way in. Isabella shot him a glare, but stayed mute, nails digging into her palms. The room boiled. Phones buzzed as members texted lawyers. Stocks dipping real-time on screens. Votes off, another said. Julian wheeled on them. You cowards, I owe you. Those bribes, the perks. Too late, Slips showed his hand. Elias hit the intercom. Send him in. Doors flew open again. Alexander Hayes stepped through, suit hanging loose on his battered frame, bruises fading, but eyes like steel. The board gasped collectively, chairs scraping back. One guy stood, knocking over his coffee. Ghost! Julian staggered, face draining, white as a sheet. No! You're dead! Alexander walked slowly, stopping feet from his brother. Alive, no thanks to you and her. He nodded at Isabella, who shrank back, mascara streaking as tears faked grief turned real fear. Drugged, beaten, dumped, your plan. But Aaliyah saved me. Now here's the rest. He tossed more files, witness statements from Luis, Maria, and even Victor's overheard calls traced. The room exploded. Call security, arrest him! Harlan yelled, pounding the table. Members jabbed fingers, voices overlapping. Fraud! Murder plot! Stocks plummeted on the wall ticker, red arrows screaming. Julian grabbed Isabella's arm. Tell him, it's a setup. She yanked free, hissing. You idiot. You said it was foolproof. The board chairwoman banged her gavel. Meeting adjourned. Authorities en route. Phones lit up. Cops tipped off. DA on speed dial from Elias's prep. Julian cornered Alexander, veins bulging. You should have stayed sunk. This was mine. Dad's shadow, your handouts. I earned it. Alexander met his glare, voice ice cold. Earned by killing family? You're done. Security burst in, badges flashing. Julian Hayes, Isabella Hayes, you're under arrest. Conspiracy, fraud, attempted murder. Cuffs clicked on Julian's wrists. He thrashed. This ain't over. I'll bury you in court. Isabella sobbed as they dragged her out, facade crumbling. It was his idea. The board huddled chaotically, Harlan taking charge. Assets frozen. Full audit now. Alexander watched Julian being hauled away, a mix of triumph and ache hitting hard. Brother turned enemy, wife a traitor. Aaliyah touched his arm. We did it. He nodded, exhaling slowly. Thanks to you. Elias clapped his back. DA's filing charges, grand jury fast-tracked. Stocks stabilized slightly, but the hit stung. The company was in turmoil, and the truth was out. Outside, the press swarmed the tower steps, cameras flashing. Elias fielded questions. Justice served. Alexander slipped out back with Aaliyah, hoods up. Boards turning. Our win. She smiled faintly, arms still bandaged. For Nia. As cop cars wailed away with Julian and Isabella, hope flickered. Storm breaking, light piercing through. Julian Hayes paced his bail-bonded hideout like a cornered rat, rain hammering the warehouse roof. Cuffs still chafed his wrist from the boardroom bust, but he'd slimed out on a technicality, high-priced lawyers buying hours. They think they've won, he snarled into his burner, Victor on the line. Board frozen, stocks tanking, Isabella flipping like a cheap burger. Victor's voice grated back. She's spilling to the DA, cutting a deal. We gotta end this. Julian's eyes narrowed, thunder rumbling outside. Lure him to the river where it started. Tell Alexander it's a meet, proof of my innocence. Then we finish what we botched. Victor chuckled darkly. On it, boss. Storm's cover. Perfect. Alexander's phone buzzed in Mrs. Jenkins' basement. An unknown number. He answered warily, Elias and Aaliyah leaning in. Brother? Julian's voice oozed fake regret. We gotta talk. Clear the air before court buries us both. Riverbank. Old Doc. Alone. Alexander's grip tightened, rage simmering. Why should I trust you? Julian laughed bitterly. You want the full tape, Victor's confession unedited? Proves Isabella pulled the strings. Come or lose it. Click. Aaliyah shook her head. Trap, plain as day. Elias nodded. But we flip it. I'll tail with backup. Neighborhood crew. Alexander met her eyes. Ends tonight. For Nia, for us. Storm raged as they hit the docks, wind whipping rain like needles. Alexander stood exposed on the slick planks, collar up, river churning black below. Lightning cracked, illuminating Julian emerging from the shadows, Victor hulking beside. You actually showed, Julian yelled over the gale. Gutsy for a dead man. Alexander stepped closer, voice steel. Give me the tape, Julian smirked, pulling a drive from his pocket. First admit it. You stole Dad's love, the company. I deserved it. Thunder boomed. Victor drew his piece, a scar twisting. Talk's over. Aaliyah and Elias burst from reeds, Earl and Rodriguez flanking with bats and flashlights. Drop it, Elias barked, gun from his glove box steady. Victor spun, firing a wild bullet whizzing past Aaliyah's ear. She tackled him low, knee to his gut. Not my kid, you bastard, Victor grunted, swinging. Elias piled on, wrestling the gun free as Earl cracked Victor's knee with the bat. Stay down! Rodriguez zip-tied his wrists, community muscle turning the tide. Victor thrashed, cursing. Julian, help! But Julian ignored, lunging at Alexander with feral hate. Brothers collided on the wet dock, fists flying like old grudges unleashed. Julian slammed Alexander against a piling, rain mixing with blood. You ruined me, he roared. Alexander head-butted back, stars exploding in his vision. You ruined yourself. Greed. Betrayal. They grappled, slipping toward the edge, river roaring hungry below. Lightning flashed. Julian's foot caught a loose board, teetering. Alexander grabbed his collar. Don't! It's over! Julian's eyes wild, he shoved free. If I go, you... Slip. He tumbled backward, arms flailing, splash swallowed by the storm. Help! He gasped, head bobbing. Current yanked him under, gone in the dark swirl. Alexander stared at the water, chest heaving, rain washing blood from his knuckles. Julian! Sorrow hit like a wave. Brother lost, not just to the river, but years ago. Aaliyah pulled him back. He's gone, it's done. Elias cuffed Victor tighter. Cops incoming, witnesses galore. Sirens wailed closer, red-blue lights cutting through the downpour. Victor spat. You'll pay. But Earl yanked him up. Nah, you will. DA's office buzzed the next day. Isabella in an orange jumpsuit, hair limp, no makeup masking her sneer. I want immunity, she demanded, lawyers flanking. The prosecutor leaned in. Spill everything, or rot with him. She cracked fast. Details of the plot, her cut, the wedding sham. Julian's idea said we'd rule. Board reconvened remotely, Harlan chairing. With evidence and arrests, Alexander's reinstated. Assets thawed. Stocks rebounded, headlines screaming. Hayes' empire saved. Brothers' betrayal exposed. Isabella's assets were seized. Society shunned her. Old friends ghosting. Clubs barring doors. She faced trial alone. A plea deal crumbling under public fury. Alexander stood in his reclaimed office. City sprawl below. But the view felt empty. Won the company back, he muttered, but victory tasted hollow. Aaliyah knocked, Nia in tow. Board's yours again. He turned, seeing her. Scars from the fire, river bruises fading, but strength shining. Not just the company. You saved me. From the water, from being alone. She shrugged, but her eyes softened. We saved each other. Nia hugged his leg. Thanks for helping, Mama. He knelt, ruffling her hair. You're family now, both of you. Weeks blurred. Alexander revamped the empire, funneling profits to community funds. Scholarships like Nia's surgery, housing for folks like Aaliyah's neighbors. Board meetings shifted, diversity hires, ethical audits. He visited the neighborhood regularly, grilling burgers with Earl, funding Mrs. Jenkins's clinic dream. Ain't about the cash, he told Aaliyah over coffee one morning. It's loyalty, guts, like yours. She smiled, really. Took a river to see it. Nia played outside, laughter echoing. Alexander watched, peace settling deep, empire rebuilt, but soul mended by everyday heroes. In a world drowning in greed, kindness and justice rise like buoys, winning out even at the cost of blood and tears. In the end, this story shows us that, in a world drowning in greed and betrayal, true courage and compassion from everyday folks can rise and shatter even the mightiest empires, proving that justice wins out no matter the blood, sweat, or tears it takes. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone close or witnessed kindness flipping the script on injustice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've turned the tide in your own life. Stick around for next week's video, where we'll dive into another real-life tale of an underdog taking down a corporate giant with nothing but grit and a hidden truth. It's gonna blow your mind. Thanks from the bottom of my heart for watching, y'all. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.